Okay. Hello everyone, it is Ar Harun here. Welcome to the Art of the Matter this week. Against the backdrop of all the sedition arrests in Malaysia over the past few months, let's discuss and analyze the concept of freedom under the law, particularly under our law. I would like to quote Lord Denning on what freedom under the law is all about. By way of introduction, Lord Denning, of course, is one of the best, most intelligent and most probably radical judge in the history of the British judiciary. He died in 1999. So this is what he's got to say about freedom under the law. The freedom of the individual, which is so dear to us, has to be balanced with his duty. For to be sure, everyone owes a duty to the society of which he forms part. That freedom must be matched, of course, with social security, by which I mean the peace and good order of the community in which we live. So there it is. Freedom is not absolute. That freedom comes with a responsibility. It comes with a certain constraint in order to protect the society and the state as a whole. Now we come to the sedition law in particular. In England, the law against sedition or seditious utterance were introduced in the 1700s. However, it imposed very strict requirement before a person could be found guilty of sedition. In a case called Rex against Colin in 1839, the judge, in his direction to the jury, laid it down that the people have a right to discuss any grievances that they have to complain of, but they must not do it in a way to excite to tumult. It is not enough, not sufficient for you to just prove that he or she had uttered the remark. You must prove that the intention was to excite a revolt of some sort before he or she could be found guilty. This set of sedition law was later, of course, brought to India. Bear in mind, when this law was brought to India, there was a revolt in India led by Mahatma Gandhi. So the English colonial masters at that time was facing a revolt and was fighting for their own survival. Against that backdrop, the court in India at that time, which of course consisted of English judges, in order to protect the empire at that time, they did away with intention. The court say you don't need to prove intention to excite at all. You just need to prove the remark was uttered and that remark could cause a revolt. That's about it. No need intention for a person to be found guilty under sedition law. And unfortunately, that law was introduced in Malaya prior to Merdeka. Even though the English brought the sedition law to Malaya to curb communist insurgency, there was actually not a single one prosecution under the Sedition Ordinance. However, when we had our independence in 1957, this ordinance was adopted as our law. So the Sedition Ordinance became Sedition Act. The Sedition Act provides as follows. Anybody who utter any remark with seditious tendency shall be guilty of a crime. And there are 6 categories of remark with seditious tendency. Seditious tendency for an individual to utter words or write anything which A. brings into hatred or contempt or to excite disaffection against any ruler or against any government. B. excites the subject of any ruler or the inhabitant of any territory of the ruler or governed by the government, the alteration otherwise than by lawful means of any matter as by law established. C. brings into hatred or contempt or excite disaffection against the administration of justice in Malaysia or in any state. D. to raise discontent or disaffection amongst the subject of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong or the ruler of any state or amongst the inhabitants of Malaysia or any state. E. promotes feeling of ill will and hostility between the different races or classes of the population of Malaysia. Or F. question any matter, right, status, position, privilege, sovereignty or prerogative protected by the provision of Part 3 of the Federal Constitution. Now, those are the remarks which carry seditious tendency, and those who utter those remarks would be found guilty. And as I stated just now, the approach taken by the Indian court have been adopted by our High Court. And in one of the most famous sedition case that we have, the mark coding case, Justice Azmi observed, it is immaterial whether the accused's intention or motive was honorable or evil when making the speech. So there we have it. It is immaterial what the intention is. As long as you utter a remark with seditious tendency, that's it, you are guilty. It doesn't even matter whether the remark was true or not. Even if it was true, you could still be guilty of sedition. Even a member of parliament could be charged for sedition while making speeches in the parliament if the speech has seditious tendency. Now, in the parliament, members of parliament need to debate on certain matters without fear or favour, and yet they could be charged for sedition under our law. That, I think, is a bit unfortunate. What we can hope is, of course, judicial approach on sedition could be changed, and this is dependable on the judges. I would like to quote former Justice of Court of Appeal, Datuk Mahathir Shankar, one of our best judges in his days. In his keynote address at the 3rd National Medical Legal Conference on 2nd June 2001, His Lordship says, "Human rights will become an empty catchphrase unless Malaysian judges are sensitive to the role they should assume in bringing about normative changes to keep in line with the current imperative needs of the civil society. The human rights of life and liberty and the pursuit of justice, happiness, truth, knowledge, beauty, peace and harmony are all needs which should not be confused with wants." And I would like to end up with Lord Denning again, because I started with him, on the freedom of mind and conscience. His Lordship says, "In the last lecture, I was concerned with personal freedom. Now I come to the freedom of his mind and of his conscience. This is just as important, if not more important, than his personal freedom. To our way of thinking, it is elementary that each man should be able to inquire and seek after the truth until he has found it. We hold that no man has any right to dictate to another what religion he shall believe, what philosophy he shall hold, what shall be his politics, or what view of history he shall accept. Everyone in the land should be free to think his own thoughts, to have his own opinion, and to give voice to them, in public or in private, and free also to criticize the government or any party or group of people." With that, thank you very much for watching this week's episode. Thanks.